Good day, everybody. Welcome to Dental Voice Season 2. My name is Rolando Mia, and this is Zyris. The purpose of Dental Voice is to hear directly from clinicians, dentists, hygienists, dental assistants, students. I mean, we're talking patients, everybody. Today, we have a returning guest, and I can't tell you how cool this is because, okay, let me put it this way. I've been told that youth is a folly wasted on the young. Old people like us, like me, the boomers, blame everything on the young people because they're clueless. Well, guess what? They're not. They're not at all. After speaking with and spending time with Dr. Elaine Bylis, it reinstates the feeling that we are in good hands because she and her colleagues represent what I believe is the future of our industry. So really excited. I'm going to get right into it. Dr. Elaine Bylis, how the heck are you?
I'm really good, Ro. How are you?
I am well. Thank you for joining. I can't even begin to tell you because last time we talked, you shared with us some incredible things. This is almost 4.5 mid-April, right in the midst of the beginning of this pandemic, when nobody knew squat about COVID or anything, and your insights, the perspective that you had, and the advice that you gave is absolutely amazing. So before we get into that, I want to jump in. How 4.5 months later, which feels like 20, I'm going to call it not dog years, dental years, and everything we've been through. How is it going for you? What are you experiencing now that you're back to work?
Everything has been so good, Ro. My mind has been blown at how amazing, because I look back so I watched our interview from 4 months ago, and we weren't hopeless, but there was a lot of unknowns in terms of, okay, what is dentistry going to be like in the next couple of months, in the next year? And at the time, I was completely unemployed. I didn't know what it was going to be. Are patients going to want to come back? And sure enough, I would say 90% of the patients, not only do they want to come back, but they are so excited to come back to the dental office. We're like a big family again. And it's been really amazing. I can't get over how well our staff was able to acclimate to all of the new protocols that we have in place, and how quickly our patients were. So they appreciate everything that we're doing, all of the new protocols. So it requires that our patients also work with us and do a lot more in order to get prepared for their appointments. And they are happy to do it because they're happy to be back, and they're happy to be back in the dental office. It is so cool.
And it sounds like you're happy to be back.
Oh my gosh. Yes. I'm the kind of person, I wasn't meant to be locked up for 2 months. I didn't really see anyone except for you, Ro, which was incredible.
Yes. So I'm curious. There's still a lot going on, and it's amazing that 4 or 5 months later we're kind of still in this. Mm-hmm. One of the very disturbing pieces of information I've heard is that there are a lot of practices that still haven't opened or will never open. And then I'm hearing, or what you're saying is that your practice, Innovative Dental in Glen Burnie, right, Maryland, is patients come back, all that type of stuff. I've heard from other clinicians that when you have forethought and you're preparing and you're planning, things go well. Who did that with you? Is that you?
No.
Okay. Paul Bylis.
Betsy Bylis, my mother, who is our incredible office manager, office extraordinaire. She does everything behind the scenes. She is absolutely incredible. We would not be anywhere without her, but she had the foresight to put a lot of new protocols in place that we didn't have before. And so, for example, one of the big issues in dental is the shortage of PPE.
Right.
And so she was going from vendor to vendor to make sure that we had shields and gowns and masks and gloves and hydrogen peroxide and cavi wipes and everything that has been in shortage lately. My mother has been able to order it for our office way ahead of time in order to make sure that we are able to continue our operations as normal. Because I think a big problem for a lot of these practices is they don't have the protocols in place in order to be able to practice and see patients. And so we are so fortunate that we have, oh my gosh, HEPA filters. We have 4 of them. We have, so my mom was amazing enough to start, we have e-forms now. And so we had paper forms up until all of this COVID hit. We had been meaning to switch over to electronic forms where the patients actually fill it out at home before they come into the office. And so that way they don't have to touch pens, they don't have to touch paper. And so my mother was amazing enough to get this entire e-form set up. Our staff has been amazing enough to get used to all of the new protocols that we have in place. And so I think that's a big part of why certain practices are able to get started again, is because we've been really on our feet in terms of making changes into how we run things in order to get started again.
So Miss Silent but Deadly Betsy Bylis is the brains behind putting everything together.
My girl, yes.
Yeah, you know, we might have to talk to her. I don't know if she'd be willing to do that, but we'll go there. So wait, so it's interesting that you mentioned PPE, all the issues related. Aerosols continue to be a big issue. And even recently, people have discovered that, holy cow, you know what, there may be evidence that, again, all speculation, that the virus is actually in the droplets. Aerosols, we talked about that last time. How big a factor is that currently in what you're doing on a day-to-day basis and in your treatment of your patients?
That is an amazing question. Okay, so here's our new protocol when a patient comes to our office. So we have them rinse for 30 seconds twice with hydrogen peroxide, which removes any virus and bacterial particles in their mouth. I'm going to say 99.9% is removed. But then on top of that, the big kicker is that for almost every single procedure that we are doing in our office, the isolate is a part of it, because that is going to decrease our aerosols by over 90%. And the patients are so happy to have it. And a lot of them are used to it because we've had it in our practice for however many years. So say we've been using the isolate for 6 years. So since before I even entered the practice. So some of the patients, they've had it for a filling or for a crown, but now we're repurposing it for everything that we're doing. So extractions, implants, hygiene visits, every hygiene visit now, we're using the isolate in order to make sure that we're keeping our patients safe. And they appreciate it so much that we're using all of these extra precautions to make sure that we keep them safe. And so it's been a really amazing asset to the overall protocols that we have in place in order to make sure that we're keeping everyone safe.
Well, thank you for that. You mentioned air filters. There was all this talk about negative pressure rooms. Do you really believe that isolate creates negative pressure inside the mouth, or have you seen it really decrease aerosols? Or is that because I've been telling you that?
Absolutely. So here's the thing: is there's no set proof that aerosols generated by dental procedures actually carry COVID. There's no research right now that says that aerosol. However, empirically, we can see that with every procedure that we do, there's a mist of fluids up above the patient's mouth. And so empirically, when I use the isolate, there's almost none of that fluid circulating and floating around the patient's mouth. And so I know something is happening. And once again, there's no research. This virus is so new. Nobody knows exactly how it's spread. And so we just have to use our best judgment. And do I think that we need to be doing everything that we're doing right now? Do I think our office needs 4 HEPA filters? Not really. However, do I think that we need face shields and gowns? Maybe, but maybe not. But we're putting everything we have on the table because of the fact that we want to do whatever we can to keep our patients and our staff safe. And so we're just throwing whatever precautions we have at it. And maybe it's unnecessary, but at least we're doing everything that we can to make sure that we keep everyone safe.
That's cool. That's cool. And that's cool. And the context of the layers, we've been hearing multiple layers on top of things is great. Let me ask you this. Heard a lot about people and the comfort level of all this extra PPE and these masks that are holding you. How are you dealing, and what's that experience with you? I can't imagine you wearing all that stuff. It probably weighs more than you, and you're completely covered. How does that feel?
It feels horrible. I'm ready to go out into outer space in my NASA spacesuit. However, it's not even just to keep me safe, it's to keep all of the other patients safe. And so we have our amazing Zyris hypochlorous acid fogger. And so with our gowns, we're actually fogging ourselves in between patients. We're fogging down the rooms. And so we keep our air conditioning at like 70 degrees. Our office is like a meat locker. And I feel bad for patients because I'm always cold. However, with all this PPE, I'm actually sweating by the end of the day. But it's what we have to do in order to keep ourselves safe, to keep our families safe, and to keep our patients safe.
So talking about patients, there was a lot of discussion about, are they going to come back? Are they not going to come back? Are they going to be freaked out? Are they going to be apprehensive? Are we going to have to pull them, into it? What's your experience with that? What's it like with your patients? Are they all coming back?
Not everyone. So here's my opinion on that is, if you're not comfortable coming back, don't come back. We're never going to force someone to come into the dental office. But I would say the very strong majority has been more than comfortable coming back. And not only that, they've actually, for the first time in my career, they've actually been happy to see me. Because, So they've been sitting at home. So they've been working from home. They've been homeschooling their kids. They've been sitting with their significant other. And they haven't left the house, and they've been stuck in that same condition. And so this is the one time that they get to leave the house and actually see people outside of their family. And they're so excited to see us. And I've never, ever heard that before in my career. And it's been so amazing when patients sit down in the chair, even for actual procedures like a crown or a filling. And they're like, man, I'm so happy to be here.
So wait. Yes?
No. Okay. We air hug.
Oh.
No, my parents actually had to sit me down before we went back to the office, and they were like, you can't hug the patients. But we do air hugs. We go like this.
Elaine, could you please come here? We need to talk to you. Uh-oh. Mom and I have been sitting here. Yeah. And you can't hug the patient.
They had to sit me down and tell me that. And it's been really hard. It's been really hard.
Oh my goodness. Holy cow. It's amazing. I mean, when you look at the context of everything, when you consider everything we've gone through and what we continue to go through, it's just there. It's very refreshing to talk to someone who, first of all, yeah, it's tough and it sucks. And when we last talked, you mentioned you have the choice to look at, tend to look at more of the positive, don't forget the negative. And your energy continues to be just amazing. Actually, I'm going to use a word. It's not just positive, it's magical. Wow. It's just like, holy well, no, think about it. It's just like, holy cow, I can't imagine what it must feel like, because you walk in the practice and here you are like, and then air hug.
Air hug.
Dad won't let me hug anybody, but
I play my parents. Yeah.
How that starts with you. We've heard that a lot of practices are struggling with their teams coming back, and because of the uncertainty, because of the fear, because of the potential for exposure. What's that experience like with your practice and your team?
So we had almost all of our team come back, and basically what we try and do is we try and show them how safe of an environment it is for them with all of the precautions that we have in place. And we don't want to force anyone to come back. It has to be their decision. But our staff has been amazing. So in the break room, unless they're eating, they keep a mask on, they keep safe distance. And it's really hard, but we try and lead by example. So me and my dad, we've been going in ever since they said we could go in. Looking like this, going in, seeing our patients, and we encourage our staff to do whatever they feel comfortable with. They have been absolutely amazing about coming in, being present at the office, adapting to all of the new protocols that are in place, because the dental office now versus the dental office 6 months ago is a completely different place. And they've been really, really great about, adapting to all of these changes and embracing them.
So how long did it take them, or you and the team, to kind of settle into all of the extra, all the additional issues, all the stuff you had to wear, all the special steps? How long did it take to kind of get into that rhythm?
I would say within the first week, we kind of got into our groove. We're taking things much slower, so we're not seeing. So typically, we had 2 hygiene running, and then me and my dad, we would have maybe 2 chairs running. We're not doing that anymore. We're seeing everyone has 1 patient at a time. We have longer appointments to make sure that we have enough time to sanitize in between visits. And so, we're just, and then it's an ongoing transition of all of the different protocols that we have in place. So for example, the e-forms have only been in place for a couple of weeks now, but we've been in practice now for about 3 months. And so it's an ongoing, we're listening to our staff and what they want to do, and we're making purchases and making changes as they see fit and as we see fit. And so we're never going to have like an exact protocol, right? It's always evolving and changing with everything that's coming out in the research and how they, what their input is in terms of what we should be doing.
So it's interesting. You mentioned protocol. Even now, and where you spoke about this before, even now, when you look at the governing bodies related to dentistry, WHO, ADA, the state, the boards and all that, there still isn't definitive guidance around how things are being done. How are you personally separating, what reality versus speculation? How do you balance that, and how do you make your decisions? You said making changes and ongoing evolution or evolving. How do you personally do that?
So nobody knows exactly what to do, and therefore we're just throwing whatever protective measures we can at this thing. So for example, there's no research to say that any office needs a HEPA filter, and yet we have 4 of them. Yeah. And so we don't know what the protocol is. Nobody does. There's no set measures that dental needs. They don't technically say you need an isolate, and yet we're using it for every single procedure that we do because it makes us feel safe and it makes the patient feel safe. Right, and so we're just doing what empirically feels like what's the best thing to do. And so far, it's been working. I think that universal precautions could have worked, but I'm not willing to risk not doing everything in my absolute power to make sure that there's no possibility of transmission in our office. And so that's what we're doing. And our patients come in and they are wowed by just everything that's in place. Like, you can feel how seriously we take this thing and how seriously we are feeling about all of the different PPE and all of the different protocols that we have in place.
So what do you still worry about? When you go home at night and you're sitting there, what is it that quote unquote keeps you awake at night with regard to, what you're doing in the practice and kind of as we move forward in this again, because that's what's happening, what would you say keeps you awake at night?
You know, Ro, I'm not really worried because of the fact that we're doing so much right now that I hope that the world returns back to a more normal state, that, you know, we can go out to a normal dinner, that we can go to a concert. But in terms of the dental aspect, I don't have any worries because of everything that we have in place. I think we're doing so much, and there's no cases of this thing being transmitted in dental offices. And, you know, we're getting much closer to a vaccine. Actually, when I finish this, I'm going for my COVID vaccine right after this interview. Mm-hmm.
COVID vaccine. Okay, wait a minute. All right, what's that?
Trials. They're shooting me up with COVID vaccine right after this. We're getting much closer. I can already feel it. And so, yeah, I might actually be immune.
And you have no fear? You have no apprehension about trying something that isn't proven?
No, because here's the thing, is out of the scope of people who could be getting this vaccine, I'm young, I have a good immune system, I'm not immunocompromised in any way. And typically if I do get sick, I handle it, my body fights it off very well. And so what better person to test this mystery vaccine than me?
Holy cow. Okay. I love the courage. I love the optimism. I think that's awesome. I'm really curious to hear. Where is this happening? Is it part of some kind of test somewhere?
Yeah, University of Maryland. It's part of their trials.
That is, and is your dad also doing this?
He wanted to. So he had taken a steroid a month or two back, and so he needs that to exit his system before he can go for the vaccine. But the entire family wants to be a part of it. I think that we have the opportunity to make human history here by taking part of this trial.
So wait a minute. So there's going to be a super multiple Bylises, the Byli fam. So it's Dr. Paul Bylis, the inimitable Betsy Bylis, the incredible Dr. Elaine Bylis, and then you've got a brother, Matt. Matt, I haven't met you yet, but I know more about you than you know about me, I think. Yes. So you're, wow. Would you be willing to share that experience with us? And I'd love to understand how that feels and all that. Are you up for that?
I would love to. Yeah.
Now, do your patients know that you're going to go through this and all that? Have you told, and have you been communicating with them about all the stuff that you're doing?
Yes. I've been telling all of my patients. I think it's very exciting. And it just goes to show how much I believe in science and the scientific method. I mean, they need to be testing this thing not just on mice, but on humans. And so I'm gonna be first in line.
You're gonna be standing there and you're like, that's a mouse, isn't it?
We have the same thing, right?
Holy cow. Well, that is so awesome. Yeah. Have you all explored or done anything with teledentistry? We've heard, that's something where people are screening people on the phone. Have you all been doing that, or have you been playing with that any?
We did it once over the quarantine. There was a prospective patient. It wasn't even, because most dental emergencies, you need to be present and you need to do some type of dental procedure on them. And at this point, it's safe enough where I believe that patients can come in as long as they're comfortable. We did have a patient or two patients who aren't comfortable being around other people besides maybe just the office staff will actually come in a little bit early to see them before other patients come into the practice, just to make sure that they feel comfortable. So we're doing whatever we can to make sure that everyone is comfortable and everyone gets the care that they need. But in terms of the teledentistry, we haven't really gone that far into it. We've been very fortunate that patients have been more than comfortable to come in and see us in person, but I'm not opposed to it. it would be, I think, more of my niche, just because, you know, I'm the techie one in the practice. It's definitely something that I'm interested in doing. It's just not something that we've actually explored quite yet.
Yeah, because you've gone to the electronic forums, and there's been a lot of discussion about being able to engage with people even before they come into the practice, and I'd be curious to see what that is, because there's such an energy for you physically. I'd be curious to see what it would look like when you're doing it from remotely, and also too, you mentioned that there's some patients who are still not quite there, and it potentially might be a way to continue engaging and provide them care, and that's an important aspect of this. So. So how do you feel when we last talked? You mentioned and you gave advice to the dental students out there. They are all coming back to school right now, and they're just about to get back into things, and they're still same thing. Not a lot of clarity in each of the different dental schools are doing things. The advice you gave last time was, we're in this together. You want to do everything you can. Has that changed now that you're back in, that you've actually had several months of working in the practice with the patients? What would you tell them now?
Oh, I really feel for these dental students, because dental school is hard enough as it is, with no extra obstacles like a global pandemic. They didn't need that one thrown in on them. But it's hard enough to get all of the patient experience that they need to get, just as dental students in general, let alone, they're limiting the amount of patients that they can see and the amount of appointment slots that are available. My advice to them, just based off of what I'm seeing in the schools, that they're really not able to get the maximum amount of experience that they were usually able to get back, when I was a student. My recommendation would be, a lot of dental offices are going through some big changes right now, where they don't have the same number of dental assistants, they don't have the same number of hygienists. Dental offices need help right now, and the dental students aren't seeing a ton of patients right now. So my recommendation would be, try and go out and shadow and maybe even help out at some of these dental offices, because they can always use an extra set of hands. And since you're really not getting much real world experience right now in the schools, try and get out there into the real world and see what goes on in a real dental practice, because in the end, that's where you're going to end up. And, it's very hard right now with all, they have to, I understand that they have to put a lot of new protective protocols in place at these schools. Right. And I understand it, but these students, they're not getting the full amount of experience that, And so, my advice is just get out into the real world. We feel for you so much. We see what's going on as dentists out in the real world, and we want to help you guys. And so reach out and try and get to see real dental practices, because, at least you'll get some kind of experience versus maybe assisting one of your fellow dental students.
That's a fantastic, I haven't heard that, as a dental student, reach out to the practices in and around your area and volunteer, spend time, shadow. That's a great idea, because you will see and especially depending on the context of the practice that you might join, it's a great way to get some of the hands-on that you may not be able to get because of kind of the restrictions. So I love the advice. That's awesome. So what isn't working for you, Elaine? Dr. Elaine? I mean, everything sounds like it's working. I mean, this is fantastic and thrilled to hear it. But what are some of the things that you're still?
Ro, I really think that if you shape everything to the positives, everything is working really well. I mean, I can't think of anything that's not perfect right now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, it's hard because, like in my outside of dental practice life, yeah, it's hard that, I have to limit myself and the people that I'm seeing, because I need to protect my family. I need to protect my patients. And so I'm not going in large groups, because I need to make sure that you know, because I'm not worried about myself getting sick whatsoever. I'm literally going for a COVID vaccine today. But what I worry about is the potential for me to get something that I could pass to someone else. And so I would say that that's probably the hardest thing for me, is just making sure that I protect myself, not for myself, but for other people that I care about.
You know, because if something were to happen, that your livelihood, the potential for your patients, and that's not good. And I totally hear that, and I feel that. That is so cool. I want to ask you, and no. This again. So I've had the pleasure and the honor of speaking with both you and your dad. And Dr. Bylis, we during the course of our interview several months ago. Are you okay? What? What's wrong?
Yeah.
There was an incident that occurred, and I was wondering how you would, or if you would want to speak about it or not.
Yes. Okay. Let me tell you what happened. I had a non-compliant patient, and his name was and so the number one rule when you're in temporaries, actually I have a non-compliant patient and his accomplice, Betsy Bylis, who I love very much. The number one rule is when you're in temporaries, you don't bite into a hard bagel. You don't bite into a really.
What are you talking? What are you talking about?
What are you talking about over here? So the number one rule when you're in temporaries is if you're going to do a live Facebook interview with Zyris and Rolando Mia, that morning, don't bite into a giant stacked bagel that is maybe a little bit hard. And so that morning, my amazing mother, Betsy Bylis, made my father a bagel, which he bit into an hour before his interview, broke his temp. And then when I offered to come and fix it, he was like, no, I'm a dentist. It's fine. I put it back in. And so I was like, oh, we're good to go. He makes it through the entire interview just fine. And then in the closing remarks, teeth are flying out of his mouth. Oh my gosh. After he finished talking about what an amazing dentist his son is. But for now, he has his finals in. You're going to see they look absolutely amazing. They're glued in with our super, super glue. And so I don't think they're going anywhere. So there won't be any flying teeth the next time you talk to Paul Bylis.
Oh, my goodness gracious. First of all, I want to say I so appreciate that you're willing to talk about that. You know, there's an incredible humanity to you, and there's a directness and an honesty, and the fact that you're willing to talk about that. And it was very funny because, you know, I adore and I have immense respect. I've watched the clinical excellence that you and your dad especially has, and he's talking about that. And when all of a sudden I noticed that, and thank you for sharing that. And it's not a reflection, please, of anything. It's just you're honest, and I love that. How would you want to close this out as we finish this up? And what message would you like to get now, 4 or 5 months later, to our viewers, people who are going to be watching this? And that's hilarious. Tyann is awesome. This is a fantastic. Look at that.
Thank you.
But what would you like to get to say to our viewers?
Dentists, hygienists, assistants, front desk, office managers, everyone is doing so amazing. Keep up the energy. I'm just really proud of us as a field for pushing through this, for getting over such a major obstacle. We're doing great. I really think now that we're back in it, the worst is over. Keep pushing forward. Patience, you know, so restaurants are open, clothing stores are open, the grocery stores are open. But really, if you're ever questioning whether a dental office is safe, if you're willing to go to those other places, the dental office is immensely, we're doing everything that we can to make sure that we keep you safe. And so, yeah, we're all doing just an amazing job, and I'm so proud of all of us.
That is awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you for taking the time. And thank you for being so you. This is absolutely, if people want to get in touch with you, best way is?
Oh, Instagram. Our Instagram is Team Bylis. That's TEAMBYLIS. You can come check us out, send us a message. We'd be more than happy to chat with you.
Oh, fantastic. And also, at some point here, again, I'd love to have you back on, understand how you're feeling, and then also follow up on everything. Would you be willing to do that? Super Bylis, super.
Yes, I would love to.
Awesome. Well, hey, thank you so much for joining us. Those of you, if you have any questions, if you like this, please share. Please reach out. The Bylis family are an incredible group, and the energy is phenomenal. I have personally been there, and you can see it. I think it's fantastic. If you like the content, please share this. If you have any questions for us, please send them over. We're happy to do that. Really appreciate the comments that we're getting here. Dr. Elaine Bylis, please be safe. Please give your family a big air hug and a big kiss on the cheek for me. And look forward to seeing you again. And it's absolutely wonderful. Okay, I'll see you later.